All right. Well, welcome to the Institute for Disability Research, Policy and Practice, Assistive Technology Solutions, ECHO. We're thrilled to have you join us today. Um, we are recording today's session. It does help us with educational and quality improvement. And we store those on our Canvas page as well as our YouTube channel. If you don't want to be recorded, you can go ahead and disconnect, but by staying on, you're giving consent to being recorded. We love interaction. Sometimes in this virtual world, it's hard to be interactive. So please put your questions or your comments or your ideas into chat. Kurt Phillips, one of our amazing hub members, will monitor that and make sure those questions get answered. We love also case narratives. That's a great way to just learn from each other and brainstorm and problem solve. We have so many amazing people on this call. So if you are interested in submitting a case or want to talk about an issue that you have, please consider emailing us at projectecho@usu.edu and we'll get you on the calendar for that. Sometimes we talk about sensitive topics or families that and clients that we are working with. So please remember to protect individual privacy. If you have any questions about how to de-identify or what that means, you can reach out to one of us, one of the hub members. We all have an asterisk or will have an asterisk in front of our name right now to make it easier for us to find on chat. Key components of an echo session is there is always a subject matter expert who talks to us about something, and then that case presentation and feedback. So the case presentation is again where we get to discuss what is going on and finding solutions for that, which encourages that professional networking, getting to know all the people on the call and who we can all reach out to when we have further questions about the clients and individuals and programs that we serve. Again, renaming your profile, it just helps the presenter and all of us know who is on the call and all the amazing things that are being said. So like I can see Nellie on my screen and her name, and I know that when she gives a great idea, I can reach out to her on that. Raising your hand, again, we've been on Zoom for a minute, quite a few years. It seems like I want to just say a blink of an eye, but it's been a while. And you can use those reactions. Sometimes Zoom changes it the next time you're on the screen. So right now, today, it's at the bottom of your screen with that react button. We also just want to remind you about the echo session etiquette. So please respect the presenter using the chat or raise your hand to ask those questions. Please keep your questions brief and on topic, and then also introduce yourself and the organization you're working for before asking those questions. That way, the presenter can specify or address it specifically to your organization. And we also encourage you to keep your camera on during the session as it just kind of builds that community and networking more meaningful. To get a credit of attendance, we do ask that you fill out a survey. That survey gives us information that we are able to take back to our funders to share what has been going on and how we keep these sessions free of charge. So Leah will be dropping in throughout today's session the survey link as well as the presentation so that you can get that credit for attendance. Like I mentioned, we store everything on our Canvas page. So if you would like access to the Canvas, that's where we store the case recommendations, the information about the case, any handouts, the recording, you can email us at projectecho@usu.edu and we will get you instructions. Again, just another plug for those case studies. The case studies are a great way to learn and hear from everybody on this call about different things that are happening, or if you want real life situations, that problem solving aspect of it. So please reach out to projectecho@usu.edu. And then we have a lot of social media that we share information about sessions, resources, and other things. So if you want to take a minute and follow us. And I'm going to stop sharing and reshare Lisa's presentation. So Lisa Gomez from the Utah Parent Center is our presenter today. So while I'm pulling this up, Lisa, if you want to say hello, and we will highlight you, and there you go.
Hello, my name is Lisa Gomes. I work for the Utah Parent Center. I am a parent consultant for Iron County School District. So Iron County is down in Cedar City, Utah. So I'm in southern Utah. And you can go to the next slide, Janelle.
Okay.
So this is me, not just my head. And I am a 47-year-old. I have a disability. I have two girls. Both of them have a disability. They both have dyscalculia. And I graduated in 2022 with my bachelor's degree from BYU, Idaho in marriage and family. And I applied for this job at Utah Parent Center and I got it. This is the best job. I love advocating for every student, every child, and me, because I didn't have this opportunity when I was going to school. So I could have totally fantastically had an IEP and would benefit from that. It was just, back in the 80s, 90s, so we didn't know much about a lot of that. But I have so much information in my head and in my toolbox that I now can share that with families. And so that's just a little bit about me. And next slide. So the Utah Parent Center, we have a mission statement, and I'll read it since it's really important. Our mission is to help parents help their children, youth, and young adults with all disabilities to live included, productive lives as members of the community. We accomplish our mission by providing accurate information, empathetic peer support, valuable training, and effective advocacy based on the concepts of parents helping parents. And then also in the asterisk, the term parent is broadly defined to include anyone serving in that role. So parents helping parents, because I have two children that have disabilities, so they both have dyscalculia, and dyscalculia is we can't do math very well. I understand and I can empathize with a parent that has a student that has a disability, what they're going through, the struggles they're facing. Kind of, I've been in the trenches, I've been there, I've done that. And I think that helps a lot of parents understand that there are other people there that are going through the exact same things, and there's ways for help, and that's what we do. The Utah Parent Center is a nonprofit. We do not charge for any of our services, and if you're in a different state, you can go to parentcenterhub.org. Every state has a parent center, but I work for the Utah Parent Center because we're here in Utah. So you can go to the next slide. So as a LEA consultant, so LEA means Local Education Agency, Utah Parent Center has talked to the Iron County School District and said, hey, would you like a consultant in your area to help bridge the gap between the parents and the school district? And Iron County said, yes, we would love to do that. So I'm contracted with the Iron County School District to provide that information to the parents as a gap. I bridge the gap between them and the parents. A lot of the times when you go to an IEP meeting or try to get services for your child, it sometimes feels like it's them against us, and that's not how it's supposed to be. And so I help make sure that we collaborate and we come together as a team and everyone feels valued in their input. And so that's what I do as a parent consultant. There are 14 of us here in Utah. So we have 13 others. We have also a consultant that does youth and care. And then we also have one that handles several charters here in Utah. And so there, if you have any anyone that needs any information, you can go to utahparentcenter.org. You can find the consultant in your county. We are trying to find lots more counties to be in. We don't have one in Washington County yet. We don't have one in Beaver. And so we're trying to make sure that we are trying to serve everyone. And so as a PTI, we have a parent training and information consultants. They can help anyone in Utah. I'm just contracted with Iron County School District, but I love to share information, and that's what I'm doing here today because this is something that I'm passionate about. You can go to the next slide. Today we'll cover assistive technology and special education, the section 504 and assistive technology, who is responsible for purchasing and providing supports, the process of implementing assistive tech at school, educational assistive technology considerations, and what is included in assistive technology services. And you can go ahead to the next slide. A student's need for assistive technology is based on a case-by-case decision made by the individualized education program and the IEP team. If your student is on an individualized education program or an IEP, then the IEP team must consider if assistive technology would benefit your student, regardless of the student's specific disability. Each IEP document has a designated section that must be marked as to whether or not AT was considered or not for the student. So there's 13 different categories that you can qualify under special education. So any of them will help you get assistive technology. And that can be decided as a team. So you'll sit down as a team. So the LEA, so the principal, one of the principals, the parent, the general ed teacher, the special education teacher, and any of the specialized like special services. So we'll say reading, or we'll say the speech pathologist, we'll say the OT, PT, and the assistive technology team. If your school has one, Utah does have it, it's UAT. And so you can reach out to your school if they have an assistive technology team. I know Iron County does. We have a team here in-house that they can ask for services. And each IEP must be documented whether or not AT was considered, and that is on the PLAF of the IEP. Okay, you can go ahead to the next section. So a section 504 in assistive technology. So a 504 is the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. It's a federal civil rights law that prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities. It affects all programs that receive federal funds, including public schools. And the law states that students with disabilities must be given the same opportunities to participate in educational programs and activities as students without disabilities. The use of assistive technology may be considered as an accommodation. Therefore, even if a child does not meet special education criteria, it is sometimes possible to acquire needed devices through a 504 plan. So if you have a 504 plan and you don't qualify for specialized instruction, which is an IEP, then this can be implemented in a 504 plan. Just make sure that it is written down. The plan is written down. If it is determined that a 504 plan would benefit that student, the school should document in a written 504 plan with what evaluations were performed and what decisions were made regarding that student. And it's also a team effort. So you come together at a table as a team. The 504 coordinator for the school comes together with the parent, and they look at some accommodation that may help. And assistive technology can be a consideration for that. Okay, next slide, please. Schools are responsible for providing assistive technology devices and services if it is determined by an IEP or a Section 504 team that the child needs them to benefit from his or her educational program. Lack of availability or cost cannot be used as a reason for denying AT devices or services. In addition, a child is allowed to take a device home if it is needed to provide the free and appropriate public education, or sometimes we refer that as FAPE, to him or her, and to benefit from his or her educational program as determined by the whole team. And again, that's the team as the parent, the LEA, which is the principal. All of them will come together and determine if that is something that would be qualified under AT. So let's say, next slide. If your student is eligible and has been found eligible, what should be considered? So the tools and devices that may be needed or are necessary to support the student's needs and goals across all educational environments. So if they're out playing on the playground at recess, if they're in the classroom, if they're going to library, if they're just doing PE, those kind of things can be considered for this individualized student. What issues are related to design and selection of the devices, as well as maintenance and repair and replacement of those devices. and who's going to train to use the device. The school should be able to have that availability to come in and have the training provided to the parents, to the student, to the family members, to the service providers, to the teachers, whoever is going to use that AT device or anything, they should have the training appropriate to be able to use that successfully. And like I said, it's individualized. No one IEP or 504 is going to be the same. No one student's going to have the same things because we all qualify for different things. We all have different needs, and it may be different, and it is different for each student. And so it's a case by case discussion. Next slide, please. Did you want me to stop? I see a couple questions. Did you want me to stop, or did you want me to continue to go?
So if you have a minute to answer those, it says, how do you advocate for districts that express limited time to provide training to staff?
So you can absolutely put it in writing. That would be something that should be looked into. I have advocated for my district. We have something called the Tobii Dynavox, and I found a trainer to come into the district and train us on Tobii Dynavox. She is actually in Las Vegas, and I had her come in and we did a training with all the teachers, the special education teachers, and speech pathologists. And I just said in writing, hey, I found this woman. Can we have her do a training? I think it's going to be super important. And they were able to do that. So any parent can do that. Any professional can do that, and just put it in writing and say, hey, I think this would be valuable. Training is needed and necessary. And then you can also reach out to UAT or UATP, any of the resources that they may have a training. You can look online to see if there's like a YouTube training on that as well. But absolutely put it in writing and say, I think this is valuable and I think it's needed, that we need to have this training done for this student so they can be successful in using this AT device.
Great. I think that's all the questions.
Okay. I just see them as they pop up.
Oh, there's one more. It says, what about advocacy for ongoing multiple trainings throughout the year?
So that's a great question. I would also talk to the special education director and or special education teacher and pursue that. Can we have annual trainings on this? If something changes, technology always is changing. So if it's a AT device that is technology driven, absolutely, that should always be done. Also, like, you never know if the device is going to need to be updated. So absolutely just say, can we calendar that? Can we put that in the calendar and have that annually we go through this and make sure that the updates are done on the AT device and that all of us have the up-to-date training on all of the AT devices at hand. I think that's a great question. Okay. Any more questions? Well, we got a little bit of a minute. And I talk fast and I apologize. I'm trying to slow down. I have ADHD and you can tell. So. But yes, always put anything in writing, especially if you're anytime that we deal with any parents, we always say put everything in writing. So just so you can go back and have that noted that this is when I asked for that. It's always a good idea just to have it in writing. Okay, so the process of implementing assistive technology at school. Determination for assistive technology should be considered by the IEP team at each initial placement, annual review, and 3-year re-evaluation for your student when there has been an identified concern or an area of need. If your student has not been evaluated for assistive technology and you believe that your student would benefit from this service, contact your child's IEP team or Section 504 coordinator to start the evaluation process. And so just like I said, if the parent is saying, I think this may work, or let's try to implement that, I think that we should have an assistive technology assessment. Put that in writing, send it to the special education teacher, send it to the special ed director if need be, but generally go to the special ed teacher that you're dealing with and say, I really do think that an assistive technology would be super beneficial for my student, and here's why. And just have it in writing and send that. Also send it to the gen ed teacher as well. Communication is key in any of this implementation. And the IEP, if the student is qualified, you will always have an annual review. So every year you have an annual review of your student's IEP. And then per the special education rules and law, every 3 years there's a reevaluation, and so it can also be assessed at that time, should we have an AT assessment done at that point. Parents can request an AT evaluation by contacting the IEP team or the Section 504 coordinator. They're pretty much two different people, the IEP team, the LEA, the special education teacher, and then the 504 coordinator is maybe someone else. It could be the vice principal or someone else in that capacity. And so just make sure you communicate in writing that you would like this done. And then a formal AT evaluation may be required if the team cannot determine appropriate devices or services. I'm learning as I go on AT devices. I think they're fantastic. As I learn and find out more, I'm so excited about where we are from where we come. And I think it's fantastic. There's so many things that I don't know. And so you don't know until you ask. And AT evaluations are conducted by qualified professionals and should be completed in a timely manner. And I know I mentioned that in our district, we have an assistive technology team that's implemented in Iron County. I don't know if the other 13 LEA consultants have the same ability. Each school district may, and they're all different. So they may have a team that is implemented in their district. If not, they can also, reach out to UAPT, or they can reach out to Utah Assistive Technology. I think I have put that in the resources where you can go to find information on that as well. But I know that in my district, I'm able to just go to the Assistive Technology team. I know who runs it. I include them on my written information and my written email. And so that's what we do here in locally in my Iron County. Okay, next slide. So education assistive technology considerations. There's 6 educational areas of need to consider. That's academics, such as reading, written expression, math, executive functions, learning and study. Sensory, so hearing, vision, tactile, movement, that kind of stuff. There's communication, which is expressive, receptive, functional. And then physical access, environmental control, positioning, mobility, and seating. And then there's behavior, so inattentiveness, aggression, and frustration, and then also computer access. Nowadays, we have the ability to turn on items such as speech to text and text to speech, that kind of thing. We didn't have that back in my day, but that would have been really helpful for me. But there's so many possibilities, and so there's a lot of different outlets that we can look into that delve into AT. There's so many considerations. Okay, next slide. So assistive technology services include evaluating whether or not the student would benefit from AT. And IEPs and 504s, they're all data driven. So there's always going to be testing. There's always going to be data that you can look at to see if there is a benefit. And that is what drives the IEP and the 504s. Providing the assistive technology device, and the devices may be different. They may be low tech, they may be high tech. Training the student in using the device. A lot of the times, like my friends that have the AAC device, they have like a big heavy cover that's over it. So if they drop it, which hopefully they don't, it won't break, it won't bust. And then they have they kind of wear it. They have a little belt that goes over them and they wear it. And I think that's fantastic to see. And that's how they're able to, communicate with others, peers, students, teachers, all of them. Training the parents and professionals who work with a child if needed. And like I said, there's all kinds of ways to find out training. YouTube's fantastic at times. And you can look up, I know that I did look up Tobii Dynavox to find out what that was, because I had no idea what it was up until a couple years ago. And that was fantastic for me to know. Like I said, there's low tech stuff, there's high tech stuff. It just all depends on what is applicable for that individual student. Okay, next slide. And I'm going to ask a question because I don't like talking at people. So what are your biggest challenges regarding assistive technology today, in this time and era? And don't be shy. Funding, yes. Funding is a big one. Also, a lot of my parents, they told me I don't know what assistive technology is. I had no idea what that is. I didn't know we could test for that. And that broke my heart. Because if you have a child that's 3 and is not communicating, that would be so beneficial to be able to have an assistive technology assessment done at that time to see what would benefit that student.
Yeah,
Wait time for evaluations, yes.
Who pays for the assessment?
So if you're in the school district and you qualify for an IEP or 504, that would be the district. So the district is going to have that ability to do that. And just like I said with my district, they have the ability to have their assistive technology team come in. I want to say we have 5 or 6 of them, and they can evaluate for different. We have an audiologist on our team, we have a speech pathologist on our team, so they all kind of collectively come together and they evaluate and do that assessment at time of the IEP assessments that are done. So limited resources for parents in other languages. Yes, so Utah Parent Center, we do have our whole website is actually translated in Spanish, and we are trying to get better at translating a lot of things in Spanish. So we have resources that we hand out that are in English and in Spanish. So if you want to look that up, that'd be great. We also have 2 or 3 translators as well. We have 3 co-workers of mine that speak Spanish. And we also can help find those kind of resources that speak other languages as well. And we can help, Utah Parent Center can source those out and try to help anyone in that manner. Professionals qualified, competent in recommending or identifying what is needed. Yep, I agree. That is correct. How do we identify if we don't know, number one, and then how do we know what's needed? Because there's a plethora of things that we could choose from, and I'm learning even more every day. There's so many AT devices and things that we can implement, and they're fantastic. And so many things that we can print now. That is so cool. 3D printers are fantastic. I would have never, my mind was blown that we can 3D print things that would help people. Multiple school staffing having adequate and same training. Yes, and that's why implementing and asking for training is super, super, super helpful. If we have, and if you know of any of this, school districts that need help in training, you can call the Utah Parent Center, ask them to give you the information for that, and then they can also help bridge that gap between you and the school to get that done. Kid, go ahead.
Yeah, so great information, by the way. Some of the questions that will relate to this, as far as who pays for the evaluations, some of the training, who does the evaluations. The Utah Assistive Technology teams for the schools is the best. I'll put a link that you can see the website. This gives a whole bunch of information based on those assistive technology teams. Every student in the state of Utah that's part of public education has an assistive technology team that can go in and evaluate them. No cost to that. Of course, there's no cost with this based on FAPE and so many other laws. And outside of the schools, the Utah Center for Assistive Technology does free evaluations at no cost for anyone of any age in the state of Utah. If there's any questions on that, I can answer that more. Also, UATP does a lot of evaluations. So just to touch on some of those things.
And join us next month because we are going to be talking about different funding and resources for assistive technology.
Yes. So if you ask for your student to be evaluated for an individualized education program, that is when you can ask for the assistive technology assessment to be done too. And Kent, correct me if I'm wrong, then my school district team would contact UAT to make sure that they're in cahoots with all of that and they get the training from UAT to do what they're supposed to be doing, correct?
Yes, we provide a lot of supports and trainings to the assistive technology teams. There's about 26 of them across the state. We can provide that. Oftentimes we go in and help evaluate. One of our team members is going down to Nebo actually tomorrow to help with an evaluation for a student.
Yes. And I did put some resources in one of the links. If you go, I think it's the jobs.utah.gov. It's the USOR. That is also a form that some of my parents have filled out that I've sent to them as well. If they didn't know or they didn't find out or didn't get back, no one got back to them from the assistive technology team here locally, then they can fill out that form. And then someone from UAT up there came down and was able to evaluate that student. And so I think that's important to know too. There's going to be challenges, but we're here to help make sure that we talk about it. We have a conversation, we have the information, and that we're having this conversation so we can help educate others and make sure we're on the same page.
Hey, the most recent comment in the chat, could I just touch on that? I'd like to share
Yes.
something with everybody here. I think that could be very valuable. AT consideration, the IEP is a yes/no question. It leaves so much for interpretation. This is tricky, right? With the IEP, how districts, here I go. I'll start saying it. How they get around certain laws, right? You'd mentioned earlier, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't be taking your time.
No, you're good.
And
Go ahead.
and
Go
the whole
ahead.
process, the whole time with this. But where I was going with that is getting around, um, like students taking home assistive technology. There's a lot of ways that they can get around that, and they do. They're very smart at that. It's a larger discussion, but what I'd like to share with you is something that was released from the the Department of Education last year. A lot of myths and facts that have to do with assistive technology in education, and it's an excellent document. Really, really, really good. If people want to go over that and just kind of review some things.
Thank
Sorry.
you so much for that. No, that's great. I hadn't seen that, so I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. I will read into that because, like I said, it is challenging. How do parents know what they don't know? And I think that's one of those things. Oh, there it is. That's awesome. No, you can bring it up.
I was pulling it up so I would have it and we could add it to our resources, and it changed my page. So this is
It's
that
okay.
document that Kent was just saying.
Awesome. So yeah, like I said, there's a lot of challenges, and yes, it's a check on the box on the PLAF part of the IEP. You're correct. There is a lot of interpretation, but like I say, to my parents, just make sure you put it in writing that you want this assessment done. You don't know if it's going to be beneficial or not. You don't know if your children, your child or your student will qualify unless we do the assessment. And so a lot of my parents, like I said, they didn't know that there was this availability. They didn't know that they could ask for that. And it's super important. And like I said, if it's out there, let's get the information out there. If there is an assistive technology need, let's make sure that we explore that and see if we can do that. And when you ask for the IEP and you ask for the assessments to be done, that is when they can put that in there. I would also like an assistive technology assessment done, please, and put that in writing and make sure that's part of that ask.
So Lisa, there is also another question
Mhm.
about whether or not these AT opportunities, resources, supports from the Utah Parent Center are available for children enrolled in early intervention with an individualized family service plan.
Janelle, I think you and I can answer that as well, because I think you have a lot of information on that as well. So Utah Parent Center, we help anyone at any age. So we help with IFSBs, we help give the information, and I think Janelle, you may be able to speak to that better than I.
Oh, really? No, I would say that Lisa would, because Lisa is our baby watch thing. So, but I mean, I know that I oftentimes share the Utah Parent Center information around these AT resources, opportunities, and support. So I would think that, we're underneath the same things. And Lisa, I just see your hand
Yeah,
raised.
go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you. I guess probably to expand on that question further is how often are these resources utilized by families who have children enrolled in early intervention? Because often you hear them being turned away, or I don't know. I don't know if turned away is the right thing to say, but turned away from these opportunities because they're telling family, or people are telling families to wait until they get to school, or that they're too young. And so how do you promote or advocate for these resources, these opportunities to be utilized by children who are youngest population in early intervention?
So, as I said, Utah Parent Center, we don't turn anyone at any age away. We help with anything. But also, if it is something that they're trying to evaluate, we always say ask for it. You don't know until you ask for it, and put that in writing and say I would like them evaluated. And it could be a developmental delay. That may be something that would be brought to life as, oh, it may be, we're not quite hitting the milestones at this time, and maybe we need to look into assistive technology. I know that if they, by preschool, if they, don't have their letter, all of their alphabet down, there may be some things that we need to look into. So I know that my district preschool person here is fantastic, and she is very good at advocating and talking to the parent and walking them through that. If the parents, but that's the other thing, if they don't know, they're not going to ask. And so we have this on our UtahParentCenter.org page. This is where I got all of my information for this whole presentation, is from that page. So we have, I think it's UtahParentCenter.org. You go to resources, and then, or you can just search Assistive Technology, and we have a whole page, and then you can click on, I think there's 4 different things, and you can click on it. And that is exactly where I pulled all this information and data from. We help parents. We can't make them do it. We can give them the options. This is an option. We don't say you must do this, because that's not what we're here for. We're here to help them get the information that they need, give them the options. And if there is they suspect that maybe there is a delay in speech or anything like that, then absolutely there is the assistive technology assessment that can be done. I know that there also medical insurance can be looked into, and they can go through that. I have a lot of parents that they were also getting speech from Intermountain Health and stuff like that for their students as they were in preschool as well. So they were in preschool, they were in Intermountain Health, and they were doing both. So they're getting a little bit of speech in school, and then they were also going for an hour with a speech pathologist in Intermountain Health as well, through their personal insurance. So there's, like I said, we give them all the information and all the options. We don't tell them what to choose, but we give them the options. And if there is a belief, let's just search this out. Let's see if their assistive technology assessment will weed anything out and let us know more about what we're experiencing with our student.
And at least I appreciate that point too that you made, because I think that one of the big things and with anything is we have to work on that promotion and that awareness of it. And so the more that we're aware, with all of these amazing people on the call, I think the better we're going to be. And we'll go to Kurt and Dan's point earlier about having people that are more qualified in providing AT assistance and supports, and knowing who to refer them to, whether it's the Utah Parent Center or UATP or the Assistive Technology program that Kent's talking about. I think that as we all talk about this more, it's going to help us do a better job for families.
And like I said, we give all the information, we give all the options, and then we let the parent choose. We don't say, do this first, then this and this. So we give them the information. What is assistive technology? What does that look like? It could be like this lowest tech, which is like a writing bird to help the student write, or it can be like a Tobii Dynabox or an AAC device or something along those lines. But all of them will help and help with getting them to where their peers are, and will help them get to the needed benefit from the assistive technology component. I like I said, and we have come leaps and bounds from where we used to be, and I'm blown away. Like I'm on loan with UAT, that I have meta glasses, and I'm blown away what they can do. Like I had no idea, and they were like the first version, but they're fantastic. Like they're amazing. It could read it to you, take a picture, all of the things. And so we just let the parents know what is out there, what the options are, and they can choose what outlet and which way they go. But we don't tell them how to choose or what to do. We let them know, hey, there is assistive technology, and you can have an assessment to see if your child qualifies for an assistive technology, anything, any criteria. Like I said, it could be a writing bird, it can be just a a laminated speech board that says go, or cheese, cracker, anything. It could be a PEX board, it can be so many different things. And then if you want to go, so I did link a lot of resources here. And then I also linked on the next page all of the resources I took from the Utah Parent Center. And I have to do the plug because that's where I work. The upcoming events, we have all kinds of events. No, you can go ahead. We have on every Tuesday, we have Transition University, which is for kids transitioning out of school. We have that every Tuesday, but you can see all of our events here. We have workshops, and everything is for free. If you sign up and miss it, generally you get an email stating this is what this is the presentation. You can watch it later, and it's good information, and all of it's free. We don't charge for any of our information. We don't, and we're nonprofit, and we love to do what we do. All of the 14 LEA consultants are parents helping parents, and we've gone through it. We've been there, we've done that, and we empathize with what they're going through and what they're experiencing. And then just on the next page is just my contact information if you need anything. There's the utahparentcenter.org. And then there's my email and then my phone number if you need anything. Like I said, we are here to help. We don't give steps, we give options, and we give what's available, what could be a possibility, and we give information freely, and we love to do it daily. And then just the next page is just 5 ways to strengthen. We do base a lot of our stuff on donations. We have volunteers. We love in-kind donations, and this is just one of the things. And then I think later there'll be a survey for how I did. And I apologize if I talk too fast. And like I said, if there's any questions, there's not any kind of silly questions. So if there's a question, please ask now, because I'm here and I love to answer questions. I love to educate people, and I love learning as well, because I learn more every day that I'm on a call with these wonderful people, more about assistive technology, because it's fantastic. And if it can help a student, and if it's just one student, I'm helping that student, but I love to help multiple.
I'm on mute. You would think I would know how to turn off mute by now.
It's okay.
We'll open it up to a few questions, and if we don't have any, then I'm going to move us into breakout groups.
I have some good questions.
Right, and I'm really excited about all of the ideas and resources that we're just going to problem solve on. Okay. So Leo, if you want to go ahead and move us into breakout groups, members, we should have all gotten our questions. Great. Well, so I hope that everybody had some great discussions around their questions. If you will email those to projectecho@usu.edu, we will compile those, and those are stored on our Canvas page, so you can always access those. I hope that you'll join us next month for our advocacy, and next month is March, right? What month are we in? I'm like, what month are we in? I just had like a brain fog thing. So where we will be talking about different funding and resources for assistive technology. So that's March 3rd over Zoom. So thank you all and have a great rest of your day.